Does it matter that you encounter art in a physical space versus a digital or virtual space? Does the context of viewing these pieces change whether or not you attribute some spiritual or transcendent kind of outcome? Does listening to music on analog vinyl records in a physical space change the way that you feel about it, think about it, respond to it, versus listening to it on your little headphones in front of your computer screen? How can we determine in a quantifiable way what constitutes good art?
Dr. Kutter Callaway is studying how art experiences affect us psychologically and spiritually. As art becomes more digitally mediated, how does this change the way it moves us?
My original line of research was in theology and culture. I just found that myself and others, we were making claims that were empirical at the end of the day, or at least empirically falsifiable, but we didn't really have the tools or the expertise to make them. And so early on I just said, well, I'd like to know more. What if the claims we're making could be empirically tested? We have 3 sections primarily to our study. The first one is an in-person art gallery called Black Halos. The second one is a virtual reality immersive experience of visual art. And the third one is a in-person immersive listening experience of Black gospel music. Right now, we are sitting in the middle of a gallery space, the title of which is Black Halos. Black Halos is a multimedia exhibit that was created by an artist named Dia Jenkins. She's really exploring Black identity in light of both current and historic events. We have participants coming through this space, and then we will also have participants that experience a digital version. We're going to compare outcomes on spiritual, religious, transcendent measures, as well as pro-social measures related to in-group, out-group bias along racial and gender lines. Another phase is drawing upon photographic art. We're moving into virtual reality, and so we have a number of folks coming through an experience of those photographs in virtual reality, immersive VR. They will spawn into one of 3 different spaces, either a museum, a church, or a warehouse. The warehouse is our kind of control condition or neutral, but the church and the museum we're hoping will prime participants in different ways to have different outcomes. This kind of middle ground has arisen with this immersive VR technology that allows you to give a better sense of being actually in the environment. It doesn't feel like I'm in a lab, it feels like I'm actually in a space. And yet we as researchers can control a whole lot of things, and we can measure it all. What we were testing is whether or not when people observe photographic art, it gives rise to some sort of spiritual or religious or transcendent insight or outcome. We're assuming there that being in, say, a church setting is going to elevate spiritual outcomes, whereas being in a museum might be more self-transcendent or awe kind of outcomes. The third component moves from mostly visual art to music. Baylor, which is where we're conducting some of our research, they have the Black Gospel Music Archive and Listening Center, and it is one of the largest archives of Black Gospel music in the world. They've created this listening space that is ideally suited to experience what it's like to sit down with a vinyl record and listen to some of this music. The couple things we're asking there, one is, again, the difference between in-person and digital experiences of this. And then also, the other layer is, because it's Black gospel music, there is an immediate layer of religion involved. When the art is explicitly riffing on religious themes, does that change the way that people encounter these pieces of art? A lot of those operating in the humanities, I think, really could benefit from the empirical work where you say, we're going to be very careful and cautious and sober-minded about the claims we make. Most folks who operate in the humanities category are often reaching for explanations of life that are high level or high order. If you could get the architecture of these grand sort of theoretical constructs right, then that helps you understand and interpret everything you see on the ground. Empirical science at its best is almost the exact opposite of that. You observe, right? You let the data speak for itself.